Now, the White House is saying locked and loaded, more diplomatic than military. Speak. Joining us now, New York Representative Adriano Espaillat, who serves on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you clear on what the administration approach is to this? Because the president said locked and loaded. Now they're saying that's diplomatic speak, which is somewhat hard to believe. But of course, the president pulled back from a military response when Iran shot down a U.S. drone explicitly, right?
Lock and load is more of a Twitter response. And I think that we should engage in high professional diplomacy, go back to a mindset that will guarantee us some kind of a diplomatic and peaceful solution out of this conflict.
You're on the Foreign Affairs Committee. We heard what Pompeo said immediately about Iran. We have heard what Iran has said, and military advisors to the Supreme Leader about an increasing proxy war in all of this. Do you believe that the Houthi rebels in Yemen could have carried out something with this magnitude, this expertise, this precision without Iran?
Absolutely not. No. We know that this is a highly sophisticated attack. It came from the northwest, leading us to believe that Iran was involved in it. We have very strong sanctions on Iran. I'm supportive of that. But we should not be involved in this humanitarian disaster in Yemen. And I think that this has escalated to a level.
We should not be involved at all, given the humanitarian.
I supported the War Powers Act submitted by Representative Ro Khanna that tells us that we should not be poking our nose in every single conflict around the world. This leads to a situation such as the one we're facing today. I think we should go back to high-power diplomacy, the likes of which helped us get out of conflicts of this nature in the past, rather than the Twitter rhetoric that's often irresponsible.
It strikes me that Iran is poking the president where they believe it will have effect, which is on oil prices, which of course have an economic effect and might affect the economy as we head into 2020. In a way, we talked about this in an earlier segment. China is on the trade war. They know, for instance, if we don't buy soybeans in Iowa, that upsets Iowa farmers. They're going to be voting in an election coming up. Does that weaken the U.S. position here as these countries?
No, I think the sanctions against Iran are working. I think that they're hurting in their central, like Main Street economy. I think that we're doing the right thing. We should strengthen them. We should have sanctions if they use anti-ballistic missiles, if they sell armaments, as we believe.
But what do you do if Iran retaliates, which seems to be what they may be doing here? Should the U.S. retaliate with military action?
I don't think we should retaliate with military action. I think we should go to the table. I think it's irresponsible for the president to be handling diplomacy through this Twitter apparatus approach that he has in the middle of the night. I think we have people that are very qualified to go to the table and hammer out an agreement with Iran. That's the road to peace.
Okay. So let's switch gears here and let's talk about guns, because there is an increasing divide within the Democratic Party about the way forward on gun legislation in this country. We know the hard line that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer took with the president on the phone over the weekend on universal background checks, nothing less. But then you have Beto O'Rourke saying in the debate on Thursday, we're going to take away your AR-15s, we're going to take away your AK-47s. Chris Coons, Democratic senator, on this show said, look, that's going to be played at Second Amendment rallies to scare people to believe that Democrats are going to take your guns. And then listen to this exchange yesterday with Jake Tapper and Pete Buttigieg.
Did Beto O'Rourke say something that's playing into the hands of Republicans?
Yes. Look, right now, we have an amazing moment on our hands. We have agreement among the American people for not just universal background checks, but we have a majority in favor of red flag laws, high-capacity magazines, banning the new sale of assault weapons. This is a golden moment to finally do something.
Who's right? They believe Beto went too far. Beto O'Rourke shot back and said, no way.
I think Mayor Pete is wrong in this one. I support background checks. I think that's a low-hanging fruit if you made. I think 80% of the American people support background checks. But I think the vast majority of the American people also don't see how someone should be walking around with an AK-47 at a mall. And I think that's also a piece of legislation that we have the majority of the American people supporting. So walking away from an assault weapons ban, I think, is wrong.
But they're talking about mandatory buybacks.
And I agree with with Beto. I think that we should not be playing this very conservative approach with regards to weapons ban, with background checks, with the all the whole array of bills that are on way to be passed and are supported by the American people. First is background checks. I think the 80+% of the American people support it. But I think next is an assault weapons ban.
Majority of NRA members even support it. Majority of Republicans support it. But the president, you need his support to move forward. Mitch McConnell has said so much. After Parkland, president talked about it, backed off. In this case, it's CNN's reporting that he may be backing off again. Is the president going to?
And this is his MO, right? When it's a crisis and when there's a horrendous killing, he says he will support background checks, and then he weasels out of it. I think it's wrong. I think it will hurt him down the campaign trail, and I think the American people are frankly really upset that these horrendous killings happen almost every weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Espaillat.
Great to have you
Come
on.
back.
Thank
we
you for
appreciate
having
your
me.
time very much this morning.